Hello, I'm Kevin Worazek, and I'm a commercial sales specialist for LiftMaster. I cover the eastern half of the US and Canada. My counterpart, Patrick Smith, has the western half of Canada and the US. We are going over MyQ Business. So if you're familiar with MyQ in general, we're going to be taking it up a notch. We're going to make MyQ for business. So we're going to look at the new software platform available for all of our dealers across the US. So the first thing I want to note about MyQ Business is that it is a little different than our regular MyQ. MyQ on the residential side is an app right now, and MyQ Business is web-based. So as you can see, I'm logging into our web page. You can do that on any browser we have available. And then I'm going to select in our commercial sales demo. So we're going to be going through MyQ Business today. The first thing that we want to see when we open this up is going to be a dashboard and overview of the entire facility. So right now, what we can see is all of the connected items to MyQ Business. Right now, we have one gate operator at our commercial sales demo facility, and we have 6 door operators. So really quickly, what we can see is which doors are available and gates are available, as well as which ones are open, which are offline, and which are closed. So if you look at the doors on the bottom, we can see that we have 4 that are green, saying that those are open. 1 is offline, and we've got 1 door closed. If you were to select any of these doors, you can actually see the details about the door, and we have the ability to open and close the door remotely. Selecting details is going to give us all the information about that dock and that door specifically. So right now what we're looking at is we can tell you when a truck is pulling into a position, when the trailer is locked, what time the door is open, a leveler is engaged, and then we can do it in the reverse as well. So the leveler is closed, then we close the door, we unlock a trailer, and the truck is actually departed. So with MyQ Business, now we can see everything that's going on around the dock, not just what's going on with that door. We also have the ability to open and close doors. So these are all just sitting on racks at the LiftMaster headquarters in Oak Brook, so not actually opening or closing any doors in any facility. But anytime we do close a door, my recommendation is always have a pair of eyes on that door. If you want to shoot over to a camera, take a quick look, make sure that nobody's messed around in that space, you can go ahead and close those doors. So as you can see, we've got a downward arrow. These doors both just close, it closes them automatically. We also have the ability to go into a facility layout. So what we have available here is any type of image that an end user has, we can drop this right in, and we can actually put all of our doors and gate operators on here to show where they are in the facility. If we pop out the map legend, we can see any doors that are in motion are going to be a triangle. Anything that's stopped between our open and closed limit is going to have a stop sign. Any open doors will be green. Closed doors will be a gray square, and then gate operators are green and gray circles based on if they're open and closed as well. So again, I can shoot over and see all these doors. 3 of them are closed. If I hover over the door, it will actually tell us what the door name is, what position it's in, and how long it's been in that position for. Next on our list, we have our pop-out navigation bar. That was dashboard. Next thing we're going to go over is activity. So we are actually tracking activity in 2 ways. The first way is with the hardware, and the second way is with the software. Anytime someone opens and closes a door, it is going to be automatically time-stamped right here. This is going to be by day, so we can go back to any day that the doors are connected. We can search specifically by door name, and then what you can do is pull up every time that door was open or closed on that day. We have a spot here for credentials, so if any of our end users are using our passport remotes, if they're using weekend cards or PIN numbers to get in, we can actually see who is opening and closing that door as well. The other way that we're tracking activity is through journals. So anytime someone comes in and does an action on the software, it's recorded for responsibility level. I can see that I came in here and I actually did an action on those 2 doors. These are the doors that I just opened. We're also logging anybody else, so Luke Kronbach was doing some action on doors earlier as well. If anybody comes in and adds a new user, that is going to be saved in this position. Or the other thing that we note is anytime we are adding device management. So that is actually our next tab. And what we have here is just a list of all of the doors and everything that's at that facility. What's really nice though is if we select any of these doors, it'll be all of the device attributes at that position. So what's the name of that door? This one's drive-up door. What is the operator model number? This is a T501L5. We can note what type of door it is, what size, who the manufacturer is, and what the actual door model is. Below that, we are going to be a little more information about how that door is set up. So this is a vertical lift. We are estimating up to 25 cycles per day. This is an insulated door. It's not wind loaded. And then we have an option down here to put in our spring size. So now what we can do is service our end users a little bit faster. Somebody calls in and says, hey, we have a broken spring on this door at this facility. Someone says we hit this door. We can look online. We can see exactly what springs we need to replace or what door panels we need to take out. We might be able to reduce a service call, and we're going to be able to respond to our end users a little bit quickly. So by doing this, again, it's going to be an increased response time, and we're actually going to save them money in the long term because they're going to reduce 1 or 2 service calls without having to have somebody come out and see what's going on at that door. Next, what we have is notifications. So we are sending email notifications to anyone in the software. What we can do is put in a name for that notification. We're going to add anybody that's in the software, right? So we can send an email to Jeff. We can do that on any connected device. So I want to say, hey, Jeff, you're going to get an email anytime something happens with the drive-up door or ramp door 2. And we got a couple options here. So we can do anytime a door gate opens or closes, and then we have the ability to know as soon as that happens or for longer than. So we're going to say anytime a door opens, as soon as it happens, and we're going to put it on a schedule because we don't need Jeff to get an email every time a door opens and closes. Instead, what we're going to do is say, hey, anytime that door opens or closes between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, we're going to get an email, or anytime on Saturday and Sunday because my facility should be closed. Now we can get an email notification as soon as that door opens or closes. The other option we have is for longer than. So if we are in any type of warehousing facility, distribution center, we can ask them, hey, how long does it take you guys to normally open or, load or unload a truck? Well, maybe they tell us that their target time is 45 minutes. So at 50 minutes, we are going to do an email notification, and we're not going to do it again in all days and times, but this time we are going to go when Jeff's working. So we're going to go from 8 till 5, Monday through Friday. So now Jeff, the floor supervisor, is going to know anytime that door is open 5 minutes longer than their target time. So what does this do for our end users? We're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to increase and we're going to push productivity within the warehouse. If we can help them turn trucks, if we can help them get trucks out of positions, it's going to make them much more productive in the facility. And any of our customers that are temperature controlled, we are also going to start saving them energy. So closing doors sooner is going to help regulate temperatures within facilities. By regulating temperatures within a facility, we are going to actually save them money on their heating or cooling bills throughout the year. So one of our customers that's beta testing this for us right now in the Boston area, they actually set up a program just like this. They put an email notification for everybody that works on the floor between 8 and 5. Anytime the door is open for longer than an hour, they all get an email notification. They told us that their employees were so annoyed with how many emails they got that within 1 week, they reduced the notifications by half. So they started closing doors within 1 hour at the facility in just under a week. And they told us that they're actually seeing energy savings results based on that over the winter time in Boston. Next, what we have is people. So people is going to be a list of everyone in the software. Basically what this is going to do is show you everybody that has the access or the ability to log into MyQ Business. One of the main differences with MyQ Business versus MyQ is that on the MyQ side, we have 1 primary user and up to 3 secondary users. MyQ Business, we can actually add as many people as we want to, and we can give credentials for everybody logging in, so everybody can log in with their own unique email address and password. One of the things to note on here is that we can assign different roles to each of the people in the software. So right now we've got a lot set up as facility owners and managers. The other thing to note is we can actually activate or suspend accounts at any time. So let's say we had somebody who's going on a leave for a couple weeks for vacation or something, we can actually suspend their account so they don't have the ability to log in and open and close doors, as opposed to deleting them out for a period of time. Next we have groups. Basically what we're doing is we're putting people into groups, and we put groups onto schedules. So this is going to say, okay, who is using what doors or gates, and when can those people use those doors or gates open and close? So we might have somebody that is working 8 to 5, right? That's going to be the first shift. We're going to put them into the group called first shift, and they can only open the doors from 8 till 5, so they can't actually be opening and closing doors from their house after their work time. Next is roles. So we have set up 5 roles, and a couple of them here are for facility and some are for the dealers as well. So in roles, this is going to basically be everything that you can do with the software. And it's going to say, do you have the ability to edit, display only, or you actually have no access to that part of MyQ Business. So within the roles, we can set up exactly how we want end users to be using the software, and we can restrict their privileges from here. So for one example, let's say we have somebody sitting in the logistics office. They only need to have the ability to check out which doors are open, which ones are closed, and have trucks in there. We might not want them to have a list of all the users in the software, so maybe we would give them no access to the users here. Another example is we do have positions here for dealers. So my recommendation whenever talking to an end user is we always leave the dealers on the software so they can go in and check out the reporting, they can see where the doors are in the facility, they can see device management. Well, it might not be important for them to know all of the users or when people can open and close doors. They might not need to be able to see access groups. So we can go in here and we can actually make those changes for the dealer techs or whoever the dealer is on that. And finally, the last thing, and what we really want to cover today, is reporting. So we talked about how we're going to use MyQ Business for planned maintenance within a facility. What we can do is run reports over any number of doors over any period of time. So right now what we have is 5 reports. We've got activity overview, we've got a device overview, detailed cycle data, dock utilization, and we have an hourly overview. So we're going to go through all of those right now. The first one we're looking at is an activity overview. So top left, what we are showing here is all the filters. Right now we are running a daily report. We are going to do it over a period of time as opposed to a date range. It's set up for the last 30 days, but we can select anything we want. So if we were to click on date range, it would let us actually select a certain period of time. So right now it's running all the way from 325 until today. So I'm going to go back to period. We can take out any work days, so we can look specifically at the days of the week as opposed to weekends. We can look at all work hours, all zones, and we can look at all devices. I need to switch this to the last 30 days. It should be popping up all of the info for the last 30, but it's not going to do that. So let's move this forward here a little bit, and we're going to look at it this way instead. So on the top, we're going to look at total cycle count. So over the last 30 days, we have had 7 doors. They have done a total of 213 cycles. On average per day, they're doing just under 8 cycles, about 7.89. And then per the days that they actually were using the doors, they were really doing about 5 cycles per day. What we're looking at in the top right is going to be the cumulative open time that the doors have been open for, along with your average cycle time and your median cycle time. So what is this telling us? Average cycle time is saying that on average, the doors are open for about 5 hours at a time. Now, these doors are a little bit different than we're going to see in an actual dock because they are just sitting on a shelf. There's not actually a door attached to it. There's not a position that they're loading or unloading, so the data is a little bit different. What we're seeing is that when they're cycling those doors, they're really only opening and closing them for about 5 minutes at a time. Some of the doors are left open so long that it skews our average open time to about 5 hours. We're also seeing that the doors are closed just about 75% of the time, and we are running 7 doors on this report. Our middle section here is going to show us a breakdown per day. So the bar graph is showing us how many cycles we did on a specific day, and the line graph is going to show us the cumulative open hours during that day. So what we want to see is that the bar graph might be high, but we always want to see the line graph below the bar graph. And that's going to tell us that while we might have ran a lot of cycles that day in the facility, we're not actually keeping the doors open for a very long period of time. So again, in any of our temperature controlled facilities, we want to note that we're keeping the doors closed, we're regulating temperatures in their facility, and we're going to save them money. The other thing we can do is we can actually break this out per day. So if I select this day, specifically 6/19, we are going to see the total number of cycles that they did that day, total open time, their average cycle time on that day, and their median cycle time. The 2 graphs at the bottom are going to show us the total doors open by hour of the day and the total open hours. So what this is going to show us is when do we cycle our doors the most and when do we leave them open the most throughout the day. So we can see their peak activity hours, which might tell us, hey, if we're going to go in there and replace springs or we're going to make any changes on a door, maybe we do it in the afternoons because that specific door is used less in the afternoon than it is in the morning. Our next report here is actually device overview. So this is where we're going to look at every specific door. So same information is going to be on the left with our filters and report type. Across the top is going to be the same cycle count, duration of time open, and our doors. But then what we're looking at here is a bar graph to see which doors are used the most. So we might be able to see which docks are over or underutilized, or which doors are being used more than other ones. If we select the door, again, it's going to show us the specific number of cycles that that's done, and we can see exactly how many times that door has been open and closed within the last, I'll say month and a half is what we've got running right now. So what we want to make sure is that all of our doors are being used as evenly as possible. We want end users' assets to wear down as evenly as possible so that they last as long as they can. This will also help if you have any customers that are saying, hey, why does this door break down all the time? You're always out here replacing springs on this door. Why is it never working? Well, we can go in and say, did you know that you actually are doing this many cycles on this door? Did you know you're using that door 4 times more than you're using any other door in the facility? So now what we can do is justify the bigger springs we're putting on doors, heavier hardware, rollers, all that kind of equipment, as well as the motors that we're putting on the doors themselves. The other thing we can do with this information is be more preventative. So we can say, on average, you are doing X number of cycles per month on this door. One of our customers up in Minneapolis has a garbage door that has a garbage dump behind it, and that door does 3 to 4 times more cycles than all the other doors in their entire facility. They run about 800 to 900 cycles per month, and what they might say is, hey, we've got a 10,000 cycle spring, it was installed on January 1st. That spring is probably going to last until about the end of the year, maybe January of next year. Now, we don't need to replace the spring at 10,001 cycles, but we know it's going to be end of life. We know that we're going to be pretty close to when we need to replace it. Let's go ahead and replace that spring before it breaks, as opposed to after it breaks when it's reactive, because springs only break on Friday evenings, 5 o'clock or over the weekend. So we can reduce that and get in front of that as much as possible. Next is detailed cycle data. So this is going to show us any of our outliers in our data. So realistically what we're doing with this is we're going to take a look and say, okay, which doors are being used evenly and all the same, and which ones are really way out there. So we might be able to find this door down here is open a long period of time, but they don't actually cycle it that many times throughout the day. So we might be able to pull this out to get better information for our average open time or our average cycles on the actual doors. On the right, this is going to be median hours open and average. So the difference between the two is this is our average, so divided by every day over the report, and our median is going to be a better look at what the doors are actually doing every time they're being used. We got 2 more reports. The next is dock utilization and then an hourly overview. So dock utilization is really going to show us which docks are being used the most and which ones are not being used enough. So what we're going to look at here is we're going to say, okay, you're only using 4 out of the 7 doors or 7 positions in that facility. You're only using 57% of your docks. How do we utilize all 7 of them so that, again, our assets wear evenly and we make sure that we're using all the doors as evenly as possible? The other thing we can do is say, hey, you're looking to do an expansion on a facility. You might be looking to add a new facility. Do we really need to add more door positions, or is this going to be enough to suffice for the size of that facility? I don't think this is going to be a very heavily utilized graph, but it is there for them to note if they're going to be using that. And then finally what we have is an hourly overview. This is going to be very similar to the graphs that we saw at the beginning, but it's going to be a little bit more detailed, a little more specific for the day. So instead of saying you're open 2.5 hours, we might get information that says that you are open for the total number of minutes or a specific number of minutes. And then again, this is going to be looking at the total number of cycles per day and per hour of the day. So we can say, you know, on average, you guys have your doors open the most at 10 o'clock in the morning. So this is everything that we have on MyQ Business. This is the new software platform that is available for our commercial end users. We can connect any MyQ enabled device, so that is going to be any of our Logic 5 motors. So anything that has been installed within the last couple of years, any of our standard duty products, we can get this connected to as a retrofit solution. So that is what I have on MyQ Business. Next up is going to be Chris Staub going over MyQ on the residential side.
Thank you, Kevin.